Hi, and welcome. Have you ever felt a little bit confused and wondered what the difference between a healthy and a toxic relationship is? So sometimes we can get involved in relationships and have these things happen and come up, and it can be really confusing. We wonder, is this normal? Is this just the way that relationships go? Especially if we've had these things happen in our relationships throughout our lives. Oftentimes, those kinds of patterns feel familiar to us, and it's really important to know what's healthy and what's not. And this video is all about that. Okay, so the first and most obvious telltale difference between a relationship with a healthy person and a relationship with a toxic or narcissistic person is the ability to apologize and take accountability for harm done. So when you're with a healthy person, if a boundary is crossed or if that person does something that hurts you and you say, ouch, that person will respond in a kind way. They will be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry that hurt you, and what can I do to make it better? And they will offer repair and change the behavior. A narcissistic person will not do that. If you say ouch to a narcissistic person, they will likely get offended and or ignore you, stonewall you, gaslight you, or blame shift you and make you feel wrong about it. It's usually going to cause problems. So if you're in a relationship and it's not okay for you to tell the other person if you feel hurt by what they've done, then that is an indicator of a toxic dynamic. Secondly, it's very easy to set boundaries in a healthy relationship. So if you have two healthy people, boundaries are super simple. They're both respected, they're easily set. People understand what a boundary is. In a narcissistic relationship, a boundary is going to be taken as an insult or a personal slight. Narcissists have a high tendency to push and violate your boundaries and even demonize you, make you feel bad or guilty or too sensitive or like you're doing something wrong or weird for even having them in the first place. So if you have an easy time setting boundaries and your partner is like, cool, awesome, thank you for letting me know, then you're A-okay. If you set a boundary and you are, pushed back against or argued with or told there's something wrong with you or, shut out or villainized for it, then you're dealing with a toxic relationship. And that brings me to the third difference, is that in a healthy relationship, if a boundary is crossed, repair is really easy, right? Like okay, and it's really incredible to experience this kind of thing after, having spent time in a toxic relationship where, something doesn't feel good or crossed a boundary and, it's like, uh-oh, like that feels off, like, hang on a second, and your partner's like, oh, okay, like, I'm so sorry, like, what do you need in this moment? I'll tell you, the first time I ever felt that after my whole experience was incredible. I didn't actually even know that was possible. Like, I've often, for a while, have felt like setting a boundary or standing up for myself was a not okay thing to do. So there are people out there who will respect your boundaries, and if you tell them that something doesn't feel good to you, they will respect it, and they will want you to feel safe. They will want you to feel okay, and they'll want to know how they can help rectify the situation and help you feel better. That exists. So go find that, and don't settle for anything less, all right? And also make sure that you're respecting other people's boundaries that way too. Okay, it's very important. Like, healthy dynamics take two people. And on the other side of that coin, in a relationship with a narcissistic person, things will go much differently. If you tell a person like that that, you know, a boundary's been crossed, or you feel very uncomfortable or hurt or embarrassed by something that they did, get ready for a fight, or you know, get ready to be frozen out or punished in some way. Narcissistic people love to punish others for trying to hold their boundaries, or, you know, stating that one was crossed. That comes across as criticism, and yeah, it can be pretty intense. You can either just be ignored, or, you know, subtly demeaned, or it could flip a person into a full-blown rage attack. You'll often hear, you know, you're so sensitive, you know, you're the problem, your boundaries are the problem. So if you go through anything like that, you know, or at the end of a conversation around it, you're sitting there apologizing to that person for having said anything, then that is indicative of a very toxic dynamic, and that's not normal. And in a healthy relationship, people will amend their behavior if what they are doing is affecting the other in a negative or harmful way. Whereas narcissists really enjoy manipulating and crossing boundaries and basically doing whatever they want, as long as they can get their own needs and desires fulfilled at the expense of anybody else around them. In healthy relationships, communication is natural and very easy. So if you are in a healthy dynamic with somebody, talking about things is it's just easy. It's simple, it feels safe. You can talk about your day, your dreams, your visions, your goals, things that make you feel sad, things that make you feel afraid, your woes. These things are held and mutual, and it doesn't feel like there's really much of a problem in communication with this person. However, in a toxic dynamic, or in a toxic dynamic or in a relationship with a narcissist, oftentimes, you know, if you talk about really happy things, it might trigger their jealousy, and you might end up feeling put down or dismissed or ignored in these kind of weird ways. And if you talk about things that are bothering you, especially if it has anything to do with them, you're probably in for a big fight. So if you are if you have that sense of fear of like, oh no, if I tell them this, are they going to do this? Or if you're second guessing or choking on your words a lot, or overthinking everything you're going to say before you say that, then that is an indication that you are not in a healthy dynamic. Like in a healthy relationship, like you know each other, there's trust there, there's ease and safety. Another thing I'll say about that is that narcissists will also tend to avoid conversations if, you know, they know that there is going to be some sense of accountability. Like if it's difficult material or more sensitive material, then you might even have a hard time like getting that person to even sit down and have a chat with you. So that's something else to look at. Like if this person is just completely unavailable, then that's not a healthy dynamic either. Healthy relationships model mutuality. So this happens in conversation, in life, when it comes to tasks, like if you're cohabitating with your partner, or, you know, or whatever, if this is a work person, you know, there's balance and mutuality, there's an ebb and flow. Like you hold each other through the hard times, and it's never one person carrying all the weight of the relationship, whether it's, you know, task-wise or emotional. Like there's always a feeling of reciprocity that's palpable, and you know it. Yeah, in a conversation, you know, someone shares and the other person shares, and it's this beautiful, it's like a beautiful flow back and forth. Whereas in a relationship with a narcissistic person, you're not going to get that. Oftentimes you might actually be like, wow, I wonder if they're actually going to ask me about my day, or even how are you? You might get a lot of like they might talk to you, you might have conversation, but you're not going to feel like you really matter or have a voice, or when you do speak, you might not feel like you're really heard or listened to. Also, you might end up holding a lot more weight, either, financially, obviously, emotionally, and, task-wise in a relationship as well. And sometimes it might just be one of these things, but usually there's going to be an imbalance of energy and a toxic dynamic. In a healthy relationship, you're not going to feel afraid to come to your person with a problem or a grievance, okay? Like, you are going to feel safe, like this person's got your back and they care about you, and you can trust them with your heart in your vulnerable moments. In a toxic relationship, things like this are terrifying to speak to, because it's going to blow up in your face, and it often does. Speaking to a narcissistic or toxic person about problems, that can be a recipe for disaster, where you're probably going to get shamed, and yeah, you're going to end up taking on a lot of negativity and projection from that person. Also, obviously, a healthy person is not going to punish you for coming to them with a grievance or a problem. A narcissistic person will. Healthy people take time getting to know, trust, and vet someone. So, like in new relationships, friendships, whatever, a healthy person is not going to dive in too fast. Healthy people know that, yeah, trust takes time. We want to get to know somebody before we dive in too quickly. There's no rush here. We're not trying to get needs met because they're naturally met within. A healthy person knows how to validate themselves and meet their own needs. Of course, we want connection and deeper intimacy with another person, but there's not this desperation. And so therefore there's not a pushiness or a rush to dive in really deep and get to a deep level of commitment in a relationship before you really learn and know somebody and understand how that person works and what makes them tick and what their values are, and if they can hold integrity, like if they can really meet you, and if you're compatible. These things take time to figure out. With a narcissistic or toxic person, there's usually a rush, like there's that big love bombing phase and everything's like, wow, and let's move in together and then do this and that. You really don't take the time to trust somebody. And I want to say something about the healthy version of this again. If you're in a relationship with a healthy person and you say, especially if you come from an unhealthy thing and you're like, hey, I have trust issues, like it's going to take me some time to figure out who you are. That person, if they're healthy, are going to be like, you know what, like that's fine, I respect that, like I have to earn your trust. I want to earn your trust. The man I'm with now, that's what he said to me, and I was like, wow, thank you. And obviously I need to earn his trust as well. Like, people need time to get to know each other, and that is a very healthy thing. A narcissistic person will probably be very pissed off at you if you don't trust them right off the bat. I've experienced a narcissistic partner being extremely angry with me because I did not trust him after he had violated some serious boundaries, and had even practiced a betrayal and lying. They will get mad at you for not trusting them even when they have proven themselves untrustworthy. So if you see that, like, that is highly toxic and not healthy at all. And finally, healthy people really value integrity. So their words and actions are going to align. Like, what a person says they're going to do, they do it. And who they say they are, their actions show that to be true. Now, granted, there's room for being human. Sometimes we overcommit or things change and we are unable to hold an agreement. However, a person of integrity will clearly say like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm not able to fulfill my agreement. You know, how can I make this up to you? Like, they're going to still hold that integrity as a high value and want to make things right with it. A narcissistic person, you are going to find a lot of discrepancy between words and actions. It's going to confuse your system. You will likely feel anxious and have that little shot of cortisol because you're like, I don't know who that person is. And it's scary. It's very disorienting and dysregulating to the nervous system when you're around somebody who you can't figure out. You might notice your brain ruminating on them a lot, or the problem, because you understand what's going on as a threat, this inconsistency, and so you'll likely start your brain's trying to figure out where to orient yourself with this person. So if you find yourself feeling stressed out and maybe a little bit obsessive around a person's behavior, like, do they like me? Do they not like me? Like, are they this person? Are they that person? I don't know. I can't figure it out. Like, they do this, but then they say this, and I want to believe what they say. But if that's going on, that person needs to figure themselves out, and you need to find some peace of mind away from that. Either with obviously with yourself, and then also, start directing your energy towards people who are consistent and, who do hold themselves in ways of integrity and who, act in accordance with their word. That's very important. I hope these were helpful for you. I know that sometimes when we are in these toxic dynamics, we really love these people. There's nothing wrong with that, and sometimes we want to make excuses or say like, oh, well, maybe this is happening or that's happening, and it's not really as bad as it seems. So if you find yourself doing that, have some compassion for yourself, okay, and know that if you're feeling dysregulated or any of these unhealthy things are happening, it might be good to validate yourself and validate your experience, and do some more research on toxic relationships and even narcissistic relationships to see if that is what you're dealing with. And if that's the case, then maybe start following the steps to extract yourself if you can, or at least find a way to maneuver in that relationship that is more healthy for you, because these kinds of relationships can really wreak havoc on your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, your life, your career, even your physical health. So thank you for listening. If you have anything you want to share, feel free to drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.